sitting president's family launched a bank, sold 2 meme coins the week of his inauguration, sold NFT trading cards with his face on them, and put money into the apps people use to bet on whether he'll get impeached.
Today, we're asking the only question that actually matters. Has all of this been good or bad for crypto? Not for the Trumps, but for the industry. 2 episodes. Today is about the family. Next time, the administration.
But before we even open a single article or watch a single clip, let's do a gut check. Off of the top of your head, is this a net positive or a net negative? We'll come back to this at the end and see if it's changed.
I think another question we should ask is, what is the one crypto Trump headline from the last 18 months that made you go, wait, what?
Drop it down in the comments.
World Liberty Financial launched August 2024, months before the election, co-founded by Trump and his 3 sons.
And it had 2 main products, a governance token and a stablecoin called USD1.
Trump reportedly owns a majority stake in that entity that owns a chunk of the company behind it. And depending on which report you read, the family has made somewhere north of $1 billion off it in under 2 years.
And in June of this year, it applied to essentially become a bank.
They say the president has no involvement in the business deals that would implicate his constitutional responsibilities. And this statement was made by White House counsel David Warrington in response to questions about World Liberty Financial and the Trump's family's crypto business. He continued, President Trump performs his constitutional duties in an ethically sound manner, and to suggest so otherwise is either ill-informed or malicious.
On the other hand, Richard Painter, who is a former White House chief ethics lawyer under George W. Bush, said to NPR's Morning Edition on July 2nd, 2026, that Trump, quote, stands alone in having such substantial financial conflicts of interest as president, and that similar conduct would be a violation for literally any other executive branch official under federal ethics law. So, Vince, can you walk me through the ownership structure like I'm 5? Who actually gets paid when this thing makes money?
The simplest version is that there's a token, people buy it, and every time it sells, 3/4 of that money goes straight into a Trump family-owned company. It's literally called DT, marks DeFi. Not a metaphor. That's actually the name on the paperwork. So when people say World Liberty Financial is making money, what that actually means is a Trump entity is making 3 out of every $4.
So, Vince, we're talking about World Liberty Financial being able to potentially get a bank charter. Can you tell us a bit about, what a bank charter actually means? What would it let them do that they can't do today?
So right now, World Liberty Financial operates like most crypto companies, state by state, under a patchwork of money transmitter licenses. You have a national trust bank charter that cuts through all of that. So one federal license lets them operate nationwide, custody people's crypto and stablecoin assets directly, and plug into the actual banking system's payment rails instead of working around it. So it's not a full bank. They can still take out deposits or make loans like Chase can, but it makes them look and function far more like a real bank with the legitimacy that comes with the charter by the U.S. government's stamp. Now, should it scare us is a good question. Less the charter itself, more of what it symbolizes is what's the scary part. It means that the same federal government now regulating this company is run by the family that owns it.
And let's not forget that World Liberty Financial's website has loans under one of its offerings. So this is something that they already have their sights on. Whether they can do it now or after this charter or in the future, it's something they want to do. And I don't know about you, but if they're already getting $3 out of every 4, I'm not sure I want to go into a loan agreement with people with this kind of idea of money.
Yeah, that's crazier than the fractional reserve system.
Truly. So on January 17th, 2025, literally 3 days before the presidential inauguration, Trump launches his own meme coin. It hits a market cap of over $10 billion within 48 hours. The site says it's not an investment. The top holders got invited to dinner with the president.
And then a Nansen blockchain analytics report found that just under 500,000 wallets recorded profits from Trump coin, totaling $4 billion in gains, while nearly 1 million wallets recorded losses totaling $3.81 billion. Nansen's own characterization matters here because the winning group reflects a small number of early buyers capturing enormous gains while the broad retail majority absorbed the losses. So Trump himself reportedly earned around $636 million from the coin via his 2025 financial disclosure, which is separate from and dwarfs what most individual insiders made. People are always saying how Trump made like 60 to 80% of his net worth in crypto.
And then on top of this, at the coin's launch event just days before the inauguration, Trump described the meme coin as a way for his supporters to have fun. And on the meme coin's site, it describes itself as an expression of support, not an investment or security. That's the official framing that World Liberty Financial and the coin's team has stuck through from the beginning up until now.
All right, let's adjust the elephant in the room. Who actually made money on this coin and who lost it?
Listen, anytime a meme coin goes live, like we've been in crypto long enough to know, there are the people who get in at the right time, usually at the early time, and the people who end up holding the bag. As we know, meme coins do not have any kind of inherent value, right? I mean, even what's happening now with Dogecoin developers trying to create something there after the fact, that is very much an outlier to what meme coins represent. I'm not willing to say it's a pump and dump. I would not go as far as that. I would say, however, that it is an investment, one that you need to have an extremely high risk tolerance in order to participate in.
Yeah, and this goes back to just a failure to plan is a plan to fail. I mean, granted, no one expected him to launch a meme coin during the crypto ball or the gala that they were having. But before you click that buy button, you should have a plan so that you're not taken over by your emotions. Because imagine the emotions. Our president launches a meme coin. It was looked at the time as like, oh, this is guaranteed to go up because it's the president. So, if you lost money, it's probably because you didn't have a plan. Because if you got in even relatively early, that thing went up like crazy.
But the other part of it, Vince, that really worried me as soon as I saw the headline was how many Trump supporters are going to download their first wallet, buy their first amounts of crypto with this particular project, and more importantly, how many people were going to get hurt by it in the end and possibly have a negative first and only experience with crypto. Does the disclaimer that this isn't an investment really mean anything if the entire pitch of a meme coin is line go up?
I think that's just a good old classic ass coverer. Let's be honest. Everyone knows it's an investment. I mean, yeah, he did have the whole benefits of how, you get invited to this and that, but that wasn't outlined in the beginning, right? So you're basically saying, hey, here's this coin you can buy, but it's not an investment. Definitely an investment.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say that nothing here on Vinny and Vinny Deep Dives is to be taken as financial advice.
NFABYOR, everyone. And, speaking on the last point, is dinner with the president a price of admission we should be comfortable with existing at all?
We're talking about access to the president of the United States. And really, when we're talking about, again, an investment to be close to someone in power, whether you're only doing it for a selfie or doing it for an ask, it did not seem appropriate to me.
Yeah, and the fact that you had to own a certain percentage of the tokens, so you had to basically buy more and still risk not being able to get it. Literally like a lottery.
Literally like a lottery, because, anyone here playing Duolingo knows how quick you can lose your spot in the top 3.
2 days after the Trump coin launched, his wife, Melania, launched her own coin. And it did something wild. It pulled so much liquidity out of Trump, and the Trump coin had already pulled so much liquidity out of the crypto markets. People were selling Solana because that's the chain it launched on, and Ethereum and all sorts of tokens to buy the Trump coin. So then the Trump coin had liquidity sucked out of it to Melania coin, and then Trump coin crashed 30 to 40% in a single day.
2 coins from the same family competing with each other just days before their inauguration. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, man, we are living in a reality distortion field. Never did I ever think I would see the day where the president and his wife launched the meme coins before the inauguration. It's almost like they were fucking with us.
Well, and we'll come back to that later.
Blockchain analytics firms Ember CN, Bubble Maps, and Look On Chain independently tracked Melania's team-linked wallet, selling over $35 million worth of tokens across dozens of transactions between March and October 2025, largely by adding and removing liquidity rather than direct sales. Now, this is a method analysts flagged as designed to obscure the sales, right? Look On Chain specifically noted that the same wallets were also connected to the earlier, similarly collapsed Libra token.
To which I would add, when we in crypto say we want regulation, this is what we're talking about. This is why. But to go back to the Melania and Trump coin debacle, if Melania cannibalized Trump's price on day 2, I mean, Vince, what does that tell you about what these coins actually are? Are they a movement or are they just a casino table?
I think it's a mixture of both. And the reason why is because movement signals like, oh, this is a new precedent being set. Presidents launching meme coins. That's definitely a new thing, right? And not all movements are positive, right? Because the meme coin world is a lot different ever since the president launched his token, because it's just like, yo, the president can launch a meme coin, they can do this. Like, why would I have faith in anything else? Oh, it's definitely a casino because it's a meme coin, and there wasn't any guaranteed incentives, tokenomics, benefits like from the onset. It was just like, yo, we're launching this meme coin. Buy it if you want. It's not an investment. We just here for the vibes. Oh, and we got our inauguration tomorrow. We'll see y'all there. Put our hand on the Bible. Peace out.
Right, and that's the thing, right? Like, pre-Trump meme coin, we're talking about Pepe coin, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu. Like, we're talking about, like, literally memes. That's what a meme coin is. It's a token that is based on a particular piece of culture that, of course, has value to us because humans value culture. But after the Trump coin launch and the Melania coin launch, that's when we started getting, Big Beautiful Bill meme coin and, Elon Musk meme coins. And all of a sudden, we really moved away from culture being the driving force behind meme coins to now politics and politicians, which I think is like really weird and kind of, shifts in a lot of ways how we're going to talk about meme coins going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And this brings me to my next question. I remember reading Trump's Art of the Deal. Every time he makes a move, there's always an agenda behind it. So now the question is, was this coordinated? Right? You had two members of the same family knowingly launching competing products 2 days apart. Or is there a version of this where Melania's team knew exactly what it would do to Trump's price? Planned joint cash grab or a very expensive way to send a message?
And it's just so smart because we have all this commentary on like Melania doesn't like Trump. They live in separate homes. Like we have this narrative that would completely support. They didn't even talk about this. But then I think money is involved. And I don't think the Trump family would do any money moves without it being extensively talked about, planned, discourse with lawyers, obviously, because we've seen so many people back meme coins, like the Hak Twa girl who was backing a crypto investment and then ended up in legal trouble, right? So like backing crypto projects is not risk-free. It's something that we have seen over the years has legal issues attached to it if you do it in a way that hurts consumers. And actually, to that point, there was a class action lawsuit that's being filed against Melania's coin for this reason, that it really looks like a pump and dump. It's hard to see it any other way.
Yeah, I think it was a way to get the crypto community excited. And I do believe he genuinely wants to push crypto forward, but, humans are motivated by their own selfish desire. And I do think that even if he has good intentions for the industry, he still is going to find a way to profit from it. Like he's just not going to be on the sidelines. And as the president and the influence that they have on politics and laws and ties to the Federal Reserve and everything like that, it just makes it a lot easier to, for lack of a better word, be manipulative, whether that's good or bad.
Fair point. So the Trump crypto move, that's actually the oldest of the bunch. In December of 2022, way before any of this was even crypto policy, it was just NFT trading cards, 45,000 of them at $99 each.
And here's the strange part. The price spiked over 500% the month he got indicted in New York. Legal trouble became a buying signal. Isn't that crazy?
Only he could do it, Vince. Trump described the NFTs as, quote, very much like a baseball card, but hopefully much more exciting, which, by the way, established the whole this is merchandise, not an investment framing from day one.
I love how he's always trying to make things fun or make it seem like he's trying to make things fun. So then the San Francisco GOP chairman, John Dennis, posted, quote, I like Trump, but this is not a good idea. Whoever advised Trump to sell NFTs shouldn't be fired. They should be exiled. Then Fox News editor Chris Pandolfo tweeted a dry contrast. He said, Sure, inflation is wrecking the economy. Russia and China are on the move. The culture war wages at home. But at least presidential candidate Donald Trump is offering voters Trump digital trading cards they can buy for 99 bucks each.
And then, on top of all of this, Jimmy Kimmel joked that the buyers would join a community of the dumbest, most gullible Americans to ever walk the earth.
Well, I don't think it's gullible if you have a plan. Like, there's a way to profit off these things, whether they're good or bad or not. You got to do what puts food on your table. But I do get what he's saying, which brings me to my next question. An indictment made the NFTs go up. What does that say about who's actually buying these, supporters, speculators, or both?
So I think there was definitely speculation here, especially for those of us who already had the crypto wallet, already had the ETH in our wallet or whatever the crypto that you could buy it for, etc. But obviously, there was a group of supporters who, again, I go back to the Trump coin example, got their first crypto wallet, made their first purchase of a crypto asset. And I'm sure some of those supporters made money off of it. But I'm also sure, especially with the framing of a baseball card, right? You don't really sell a baseball card. You buy it and you hold it and you give it down to your sons or daughters or grandkids, right? So I think the other part of this that's really important to note is because of the framing, I think a lot of those Trump supporters who would have bought in and had the opportunity to cash out at 500% profit, I guarantee a bunch of them are still holding it today. And given that most of it is AI generated weird art, I don't see it having value on the secondary market 30, 50, 100 years from now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. No matter what you buy and sell, you're going to be hurting someone because for every winner, there's a loser. No matter if it's the best product in the world, right? There's going to be losers no matter what.
Absolutely.
It's as far as as far as them having value down the line, I do think that just because they were launched by him, when Trump dies, I think they'll go up. Just like I think Jordans will be more expensive when Michael Jordan passes, just because like it's different when the person that they're rallying around and made from isn't around anymore. But I could be wrong, and only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. We've seen countless artists' value go up after death. Paintings, books, etc., becoming very valuable after the artist's death. So I wouldn't be surprised if that did indeed happen.
Yeah, especially when the person around it has a lot of evangelists. Like a lot of people hate Trump, but there's a lot of people who have him tattooed on their bodies who actually
Literally.
Yeah, so I'll be surprised if it did, but we'll see.
Let's go back to some of these quotes that we explored, specifically the one with the chairman. He said that whoever advised Trump and his team on this venture should be exiled. And what's important here is that's not a Democrat. That's literally the Republican Party calling this move embarrassing before an ethics question ever got raised. So from your point of view, does that read as concern over corruption, or is it just optics?
I think there's a bit of concern there. I also believe that there's a layer of ignorance and naivete of not understanding the space as well. Going back to World Liberty Financial, even if that's the best product, like how many stock IPOs drop and don't recover for years and they're legitimate companies, right? Our community, we woke up at like 5 a.m. to buy the World Liberty Financial launch, and it was a Debbie Downer. The thing dropped. I still don't think it's recovered. So it's just like, any investment that's going to be worth something, you typically have to wait. Crypto is this space where people are spoiled with yields and capital gains because you can buy something and you expect it to 10x in a very short period of time. And that's where I believe the naivete and the ignorance comes in. But there is also a concern over corruption as well, because the amount of money that was made from a meme coin, and you're the president of the United States, it could be looked at and justified as him and his administration using their influence to make more money that they don't need, and hurt other people.
Right. And, that really goes to this question of, like you said, zero-sum game, like investment, there's a winner and a loser. It's definitely a high-stakes question.
But Trump himself called these just like baseball cards. Your hobbyist, low-stakes framing, 3 years and multiple billion-dollar coin launches later. Does that baseball card line still hold up? Or was it just going to be the opening pitch of something much bigger?
So let's look at a couple of numbers. Donald Trump has made approximately $7.2 million from NFT licensing deals. and has earned additional income from secondary sales and royalties that total around $200 million since January 2023. If we compare that to the measly $300K that he made off of Bibles selling within the same time period, I think it becomes pretty clear. It's a great way to make money. I know it's so easy to kind of write off baseball cards as a hobby, but this is something people invest tens of thousands of dollars into just for one single card. So in some ways, yes, collecting baseball cards could feel like a nice little hobby, but there's also a reason why baseball card collections are often included in people's last will and testament. I see Donald Trump as someone who has literally sold everything under the sun, from steaks to shoes to Bibles. It's starting to look to me like NFTs and other crypto ventures are merely the ones that have the highest numbers in that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you think, what's next? We still got 2 years left, so we'll see what happens. So
2 years and clearly a team with lots of ideas.
yeah, clearly. Donald Trump Jr. joined 1789 Capital as a partner after the election, and through that firm, he took a paid advisor's role at Kalshi. He got equity when the company was valued under $2 billion, now reportedly worth $22 billion and eyeing an IPO.
Then, months later, his firm put double-digit millions into Kalshi's biggest rival, Polymarket, and he joined their board as well.
Talk about double dipping. So then on a CNBC interview, Trump said, "There's nothing illegal, there's nothing wrong with it." And then he also explained that he is the president and that virtually anything his children invest in will inevitably be portrayed as a conflict. One of the most memorable quotes is that, "They also have a life." What do you think about that?
I think the whole "they have a life," I wouldn't be surprised if all his children share one singular life. We have a counterpoint from Ann Skeet, who is the Senior Director of Leadership Ethics at the Marcellus Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University. She said, just the perception that people have that Donald Jr. himself might have inside information because of his easy access to the president, I think presents a problem for the prediction market companies, because you also want the people that are participating in them to feel like the information flow there is free-flowing. So, Vince, he's an advisor to two competing companies at the same time. Is there a version of that that isn't a conflict of interest?
Well, if you compare it to venture capital, and this is just me looking at it in a black and white stance, they invest in competing companies all the time, and it's never an issue, right? For example, A16Z has invested into, I believe, Uniswap and Aerodrome, right? Two competing decentralized exchanges. From A16Z's perspective, they have limited partners where they have a fiduciary responsibility to generate returns for them. And they're betting on an industry to succeed in decentralized exchanges. However, they just don't know which one is going to win. So they kind of spread their bets out. So that's kind of like what they're doing here, if we're just keeping it real. Like, they believe in prediction markets. I mean, the Federal Reserve is quoting Polymarket all the time, right? They don't know which one is going to win out. So they're trying to spread their bets across the table so that they can have skin in the game for whichever one goes up, or maybe they both go up. But I do also see the whole conflict of interest, because they could be manipulating things to happen and placing bets on one platform or the other. They can pin them against each other, so it's kind of a mixed bag depending on how you look at it.
Right, and I think so much of it depends on, what does this advisor role entail? Does Don Jr. have enough say in what either company does to push them into one direction or another? That's kind of where it really comes from. I think I've got, 20 altcoins in my wallets just to diversify. That's not a bad thing. From the point of view of my work as a narrative strategist, I work for banks. I work for crypto companies. I actually have to make sure that the clients that I have on my roster are not conflict of interest. That's a legal framework that I have to work within. How deep is the advisor role? I think that really determines what the answer to this question is.
And the reason why I use the venture capital example is because venture capitalists aren't just investors. They're also advisors. So going back to the A16Z example, they would be advising Aerodrome, and they would also be advising Uniswap, probably telling them the same things to do to gain market share, and whichever team is more scrappy or whatever is going to win out. But you wouldn't get a job at Aerodrome and Uniswap at the same time. And that's where the gray line that I think you're speaking on kind of comes into play. What is the actual extent to this advisor role? Because if it's you're working at, two of the competing companies, like you have a job there, and I put air quotes around there, then it can get pretty sticky around those parts pretty quick.
I mean, we said paid advisory. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What's it mean, Don Jr.?
Yeah, exactly. His camp says he doesn't personally bet on these platforms and hasn't lobbied officials on their behalf. But does that answer the actual question, or does it just dodge it?
To me, it's a dodge. I mean, we've already established that Trump as a person is someone who is always happy to make a buck. He's happy for his family wealth to increase. Whether or not they actually need the extra billion, who's to say, Vince? Who's to say? But when it comes to this idea, right, that like his son is invested in something that it's blowing up. You can't deny prediction markets not only blowing up in the headlines, but I was in Madison Square Garden last month and I saw a Kalshi sponsored, sitting area. So these places have influence and they're trying to get more. So whether or not Don Jr. is there talking to his dad, I think he is, but whether or not he's talking to his dad, we also have the impetus for Donald Trump to help his son to succeed, whether or not he's asked to.
Yeah, and Donald Trump has always been a person of using the laws to his advantage. So where you have something like crypto where it's full of gray areas, you better believe he's going to use them to his advantage, for sure. Just like he did the tax code.
Exactly. But let's do a quick gut check before we go any further. A lot of people lump prediction markets in with crypto because they feel like gambling. And we've already talked about the misinformation and the miseducation of most of the world when it comes to crypto. They're not the same thing. Kalshi and Polymarket are regulated by the CFTC, not the SEC, and technically these aren't cryptocurrencies.
Well, the president himself posted that he wants the CFTC, not individual states, to have exclusive authority over these platforms, and his son has money in both companies fighting that exact battle.
So Trump on Truth Social, as reported by Crypto Times on May 27th, 2026, said he considers it critically important for the CFTC to maintain exclusive authority over prediction markets, adding, quote, under my leadership, you were better at it than I am. Under my leadership, we are setting rules of the road that are the gold standard for the states. It's beautiful, beautiful, let me tell you.
It's the best road. It's the best.
It's the best gold standard. The best gold standard of all gold standards. It isn't really about the money. There's a lot of money involved, don't get me wrong, but it's not really about the money. It's that people might assume Don Jr. knows something that they don't just because of who his dad is. Do you think that that's a flexible perception problem, or is that just permanently baked in once a president's kid is advising on anything?
Definitely the latter. Right. When you have an industry like crypto, that's a gray area. And then you have them launching products and just being involved from every front and they're profiting. Of course, people are going to be like, well, hold on. Right. If the states lose this fight and the CFTC gets exclusive control, who wins, who loses, and does Don Jr.'s state change how you feel about the outcome either way?
The CFTC, that's commodities and futures. Like, I don't know, there's something like, yes, betting on the future obviously is future, but like, I don't see how that's a commodity. I mean, that's the thing. I'm wondering, are we talking about where this business truly belongs? Or are we talking about where it'll fit in the best for the benefits of the company's investors, of the company's business, right? Because to me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, whichever regulating body governs it, they're going to find a way to lobby and use their influence to get what they want. They're smart as well. So I feel like no matter what they do or what happens, they're going to figure out a way to win, if I'm just being real.
And to me, the most important part when it comes to crypto and prediction markets specifically, because they're both so unregulated, they need to be regulated by the ruling body that's going to have consumer protections in mind. Because as soon as I can buy an asset based on a meme comes out, as soon as I can invest in a question, how many points are the Lakers going to score in their game tomorrow? That's where we need to be protected. That's where we need to make sure that people are educated on these trades before they hit confirm, where there's going to be actual justice for people who get scammed. So to me, maybe that's SEC, but again, these aren't really securities either. So it's a big question. My biggest concern, though, is how do we make sure consumer protection is at the forefront when we're talking about any investment, but especially those like crypto, like prediction markets, that really don't fit neatly into any category at present?
I think the entire system needs an overhaul is the answer, because we're going off of laws and regulations for a completely different asset class, right? You got to remember that the SEC was created after the Great Depression, when a lot of people lost money, right? The SEC was created after that. So were 401ks, because people weren't investing into the stock market anymore. So they were like, okay, let's figure out a way to get people investing again. The Glass-Steagall Act came from there. And so did the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. All these things came from the Great Depression and all the pain that it caused. So now the question becomes, has there been enough pain in crypto? I think yes and no. Like, you have a lot of hacks that's happened and people lost money, but it hasn't affected the whole country yet, because there's still a small percentage of people that's investing into crypto so far. So with that in mind, I think there needs to be, I don't know if it needs to be a new regulating body like a Web3 exchange commission, for lack of a better word, or just like another branch in the SEC where it's focused just on that. But I agree with what you're saying, Virginia, and that consumer protection needs to be first and foremost. But I think it needs to be a little different, because crypto has properties that makes it unlike any other asset class.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Our world has not caught up on paper with the digital age. What we are
Agreed.
talking about here, when we're talking about cryptocurrencies, no one had any idea that these were coming down the line when these entities were being created. Like you're talking about Great Depression, that is a very different world than we live in now, right? So now we're talking about not only the internet age, we're talking about cryptocurrencies that are global, right? That have all these great benefits, but we're not really getting to use these benefits because we don't have the rules of the road. I'm very much one of those people who's like, let's create the solution before it becomes a problem. But unfortunately, in the world we live in, they're going to be waiting for something bigger to happen before we really get there. Let's strip away the is this crypto debate for a second. Doesn't matter what the asset class is called if the same family conflict of interest pattern shows up again.
You definitely want to eliminate conflict of interest as much as you can, because that just paves the way for future people in his same position to do the same thing, right? And the presidential influence is not one to undermine. It's huge. Donald Trump is probably the most famous person in the whole world right now, being the president, and just the life that he had before, being a media person. And people have to keep in mind, like, he is the first president that we've had that was a businessman and entrepreneur first, right? 90 to 95% of all presidents before him were politicians before that. And then the other 5 to 10% were military generals. He's the only one that was an entrepreneur. So I definitely think that the conflict of interest pattern is very, very important. But again, it's hard to eliminate all gray areas, because people who are making these laws, they bribes and benefits and a lot of conspiratorial things that happen behind the scenes. I'm gonna leave my tinfoil hat on the table. I'm not gonna put that on for this video, but I will say that the conflict of interest should be addressed so that everyone has as even of a playing field as they can, because it'll never be completely even.
So, World Liberty, two meme coins, NFTs going back to 2022, and now a foothold in prediction markets. So, Vince, can you rank these 5 things worst to least bad?
The worst one, I would have to say, is probably the two meme coins for sure, just because of the lack of benefit and how much money was lost and how the meme coin market is affected. I mean, there was a point in time where meme coins were the top onboarding thing getting people into crypto. Now that's not the
Yes,
case
they
anymore. And I
were.
do feel like that's because of the reason, right? Sometimes you just need an on ramp to get in the game, right? And if you have this on ramp that's like kind of eliminated because people have a bad taste in their mouth, then how do you look at that? So I'll say meme coin is the worst. The second worst would have to be probably the prediction markets, just because we don't know what goes on behind the advisor thing, right? And as a president, you know what's happening before the public does. And it's very easy to have someone or a party or a company making bets for you, and you keep
Mm.
your hands, right? And we'll never know about that. So that's the second worst. And I make that the second worst because it doesn't hurt people as much as I think the meme coin has. But
Hmm.
those can be interchangeable because there are bets in the future that we don't know about yet that could be huge. The next worst would have to be the NFTs. I put this at the top because it's like 99 bucks. It's not really that much to lose, right? I mean, yeah, you can buy multiple of them, but I just feel like the other ones were a lot worse. And then I would say the least worst would have to be World Liberty because even though they're making money and this, it is an actual company behind it. Now, it is to be determined if that company will provide good products and services, right? Like they're trying to be a bank. Are they going to be a good bank? That's to be determined. The World Liberty token could still pump, even though that's not the best determiner of success because there are good companies that the stock price and the crypto price are in the shitter and vice versa. So yeah, that would be my order.
You know, that's really interesting, Vince, because I would actually order it almost entirely opposite. The thing about
Really?
World Liberty the thing about World Liberty Financial is when we look at the people who founded it alongside the Trumps, one of them, his nickname is literally Dirtbag. And there are
Ooh.
videos of Dirtbag. Yeah, there are videos of Dirtbag saying, this is unprecedented. We have to rush now. There's so much money to be made in crypto. He's one of those crypto guys who's like filming himself in his cars while he's like driving a Lamborghini. Like, y'all know what kind of crypto dirtbag we're talking about here. And so when I look at someone like that who is looking at crypto not as technology for innovation, but as technology for a quick money grab, that makes me really nervous about where this company is going and what they're going to be able to accomplish if they really do get this bank charter. Banks have hurt so many people in this world, Vince. When we go back to the 2008 financial crisis, we're talking about people losing their homes, people killing themselves because they didn't have money to go forward. This is where we have to really be serious about, yes, it's just money, but people kill themselves for the situations that they get into with bad investments all the time, and they've been doing it since time immemorial, right? So that's where I'm really worried about World Liberty Financial because I'm not convinced that it's actually meant to live up to its mission statement on its website about wanting to help the most vulnerable people in the world. We're talking about a company where the owners are making $3 out of every 4. It makes me very nervous. So I'd put World Liberty actually as the worst investment. I would then put prediction markets as the next worst, again, because we don't know what it is. And same thing, it's closer to gambling than investing, in my point of view. Play in the stock market can sometimes feel like gambling, right? So I'm not saying it's 100% gambling, but I worry about what's going to happen, especially when we're talking about platforms like Kalshi and Polymarket, where we have literally seen the guy who runs Trump's teleprompter making money off of bets on prediction markets because he knows what Trump is about to say. After that, I'd put the meme coins because, like you said, it has drastically changed the way that people on-ramp into crypto. And in my opinion, it has made a lot of people associate crypto with a scam because they see, well, it went up in 48 hours and then crashed. That's why you can't invest in crypto at all. Again, feeding into the misinformation that all of us in crypto have been fighting since the day that we got into the space. And then lastly, I'd put NFTs as the least offensive and the least problematic. Like you said, you know, it's people buying JPEGs and hopefully making a buck later. That is a bet that anyone who's bought NFTs knows. Doesn't matter if you're buying from, you know, a great artist or an unknown artist or a PFP project. You never know if you're going to make your money back.
That is a great assessment.
Yours
Very
as well.
It's very interesting that we had completely different orderings on that.
Vinny and Vinny don't always agree.
Exactly. Okay, so my next question is there any individual piece of this you defend as genuinely fine if it stood alone, separate from anything else?
No.
What
Absolutely
is this?
not. Here's why I say that, Vince. You know what? Actually, I'm going to change my mind. The only individual piece that I would defend as genuinely fine is the NFT project. And here's why. He was not actively in office at that time. He did not have the levers of power at his disposal. If anything, the Trump NFTs are the same thing as every other product that he has peddled to his fan base. It's something that you can buy. It goes into his pocket. You're proud of owning it. So to me, the NFTs are the least nefarious. It's the same thing as any celebrity selling a perfume or selling, something that they're associating their brand, their personal brand with. Everything else, not looking too good. What about you?
You're such a rational thinker. I agree. I would have to agree with that. That's a fair point. Launching all those other things, like I said, is to be determined if it's going to benefit people or not. Like even going back to the World Liberty Financial and the dirtbag guy, that could be scary, especially they're making 3 out of every $4. How I look at it is that if they're making a lot of those $3 and $4 and people are benefiting, okay. And then from the dirtbag guy, I feel like on every team you need like a shark, but just as long as that person isn't allowed to make key decisions and have a big influence on the direction that the company is heading, I think is important. Now, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and if that is intact or not. So that'll be TBD, but I agree with you on just the Trump NFTs being, politically correct because that was the thing he launched while not in office.
All right, final gut check. Same question as we did at the very beginning. Are you feeling like we have net positive or net negative on just the Trump family's moves in crypto?
I'm being honest, and this could change in the future. Just the families, not the administration. That's a totally separate conversation. That'll be part 2. But just from the families dealing right now, from the time that we're recording this, I would have to say net negative. And the reason why is because, we already talked about the meme coin and how it's like destroyed people's hope, right? And not to mention their pockets, a lot of them. And we kind of did a bridge to the crypto world, or at least put caution tape around it. Maybe not eliminate, because you can still get onboarded through meme coins. The Trump NFTs are in the shitter. World Liberty Financial hasn't done anything yet. And then the whole prediction markets thing hasn't really done anything to benefit people. What it has done, and this doesn't have anything to do with them, which is another point. Polymarket being referenced by the Federal Reserve and, legit big companies does give crypto a stamp of approval, but the Trump family's involvement hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to help that. So for right now, the Trump family involvement, I'd have to say net negative. What about you?
Net negative, and ironic that my favorite part, the NFT world, is the one that's least offensive. That is amazing. But yeah, so we've covered a lot today. Next time, we leave the family behind and we get into the actual policy, the pardons, the bills stuck in the Senate, and the money that got his administration into office in the first place.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. And we'll see you on the next Vinny and Vinny Deep Dive. Vinny and Vinny, every subscribe so you don't miss a beat.
Subscribe.